dua of Sihat and Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha for all the mothers of the families for the sponsor this their iftar. I will also request this after the lecture, but let's start with dua sihat, especially for the children of Brother Ayman al Rahma, who has asked specifically to pray for his children. And let's remember all of those who are ill, for the families of the sponsors, your families, all of those who are ill throughout the world, all of the families of those who will need our dua. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 صلوات على محمد. So let us all remember the marhumin of our family, especially those who sponsored today's iftar, especially Brother Akil Chamsi, Brother Hussam Murtada, Brother Zafar Shams, and and family, and all of the marhumin of those who have partaken in this center who are not with us anymore. Marhumin from your family and my family as well. Fatiha. Before I begin, how much time do I have? An hour?
45 minutes.
45 minutes? Inshallah. Okay. Okay, so I have 45 minutes, inshallah. Salam ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد. وصلى اللهم على آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه العزيز بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم نزل عليك الكتاب بالحق مصدقا لما بين يديه وأنزل التوراة والإنجيل صلوات على محمد. وقال الأمير المؤمنين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه في دعاء كميل يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد. Dear brothers and sisters, we started this past discussion yesterday with a conversation about the nature of the beginning was the conversation about the nature of huruf al-muqatta'at and the nature of the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim as it begins every surah. As I mentioned, if the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim had the same generic meaning, it should have been only mentioned once, but Mufassirin have mentioned not just from the school of Ahlul Bayt, but in general. And for example, the most famous Sufi saint, they call him Sheikh al-Maqtul. The brothers from Syria might know of him. Shahabuddin Suhrawardi. He was, during the time of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, Salahuddin had appointed his son to be the governor of Syria. And after doing away with the Crusaders with their esoteric Christianity and doing away with the Fatimids with their esoteric Islam, He was afraid because he was an extreme literalist. He was afraid of the impact that Ahl al-Tasawwuf and the Sufis were having in his court. So the literalist scholars within his assembly said, your son is being influenced by a Sufi. This is Shahabuddin Sohrawardi. And there's a reason why I'm mentioning his name and his works. Salahuddin orders his son to kill his teacher. He has him killed. But in his book, a short tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha called Haylak al-Nur, he says that the famous tradition of in the Shia school of Ahlul Bayt, if you combine all of Quran into one surah, you get Surah Al-Fatiha. You combine all of Fatiha into one verse, you get the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim of Surah Al-Mubarakah, Surah Al-Fatiha. You combine all of the Bismillah into one letter, you get the Ba. You combine all of the Ba, you get the dot. And he says, he is a Sunni Sufi saint, and he says, Ali says, I am the dot beneath the Ba of the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim of Surah Al-Fatiha. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. But then specifically, the nature of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is related directly to a part of the first verse of the surah after it. So the mystical nature behind Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, as Suhrawardi and the various Mufassirin have mentioned with regards to Imam Ali, that has a very mystical nature. But the mysticism behind the surahs which begin with huruf al-muqatta'at, we cannot really understand because they are connected to each other. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues. Alif Lam Mim, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. And I mentioned yesterday as well, these verses were related or revealed during the Prophet's debate with the Christians of Najran. So what happens in the story of the Christians of Najran? The Prophet invites the elders, the priests, the ulama of the Christians of Najran. They come to him wearing their gold and silk brocade and everything, expecting the highest audience. And he doesn't give them any attention. They have their gold crosses, their golden staffs and everything. He does not give them any attention. So they say, what's wrong? He invited us. He should give us some attention. Goes to one person, doesn't know the answer. Another person doesn't know the answer, or why the Prophet's not listening to them. Finally, he goes to Salman al-Farsi. He says, go to Ali. There's nobody who knows the Prophet better than Ali. They go to Imam Ali. Imam Ali says he does not like this fancy dress. Go wearing simple attire. And they go wearing their simple attire. He meets them, he talks to them. There's a debate that goes on, a discussion about the nature of Jesus Christ. The nature of Jesus Christ as being one of the three itself was not established by Jesus himself. If you read the Bible, Jesus always says he is the Son of Man, not the Son of God. But then they say, if he is the Son of Man, then how can he be born? Because he has no physical father. The Prophet says if that's the case, then Nabi Adam deserves to be even higher than Jesus because he has no father or mother. So believe in the divinity of Adam. You say, no. They don't come to any agreement. So the verse is revealed. These verses were revealed during that time when they were not able to reach an agreement. The verses of Mubahala were revealed. These verses are a part of that discussion. Alif Lam Mim, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. God is He, there is no God but He, the everlasting, the self-sustaining. And then, of course, we have the famous phrase, نزل عليك الكتاب بالحق مصدقا لما بين يديه وأنزل التوراة والإنجيل. That we revealed, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, we revealed the book to you, and it مصدقا نزل عليك الكتاب بالحق مصدقا لما بين يديه. We reveal to you the book containing the truth, and it verifies what is before it. وأنزل التوراة والإنجيل. We revealed the Torah and Injil. Of course, as Muslims, as I mentioned last time, we believe in the Torah and Injil. Hazrat Masih, Hazrat Jesus Christ, is not just the Messiah of the Christians. The Quran calls him Masih. There are more verses about the Virgin Mary. There's a whole surah in the Quran about the Virgin Mary. And you know what? In the Bible they have about the Virgin Mary, there's only a few instances about her life. The instance that comes to mind, before they say Jesus began his ministry, we don't believe in this tradition because it goes against the nature of prophethood in Islam, but it's mentioned in the Bible that Jesus and Mary were at a gathering, they were at a party, and the alcohol ran out. So Mary goes to Jesus, her son, and she says to him, the alcohol is gone, the wine is gone. He says to her, woman, what do I have to do with it? Meaning, Jesus, who according to Christianity is the Son of God, is disrespecting the mother. But in the Quran, we have a whole surah on Maryam. Christians debate now the idea of the Immaculate Conception, meaning whether or not Jesus had a father and brothers and sisters. To date, Islam is the only religion right now that says 100% that Jesus was born without a father. And of course, Kitab bil Haq. Kitab bil Haq. And then of course we have the tradition that says Al-Haqqu ma Ali wa Aliyum min al-Haq. Ma al-Haq. That Al-Haq is with Ali and Ali is with Haq. This book, which is with the truth, if you combine these two ideas together, the book is with the truth. The truth of the book is with Ali, and Ali is with this truth. And the prophets go further, oh Allah, make Haq turn whichever way Ali goes. Ali is the Mizan. Ahlul Bayt are the Mizan. They are the criterion on which we determine what Haq and Batil is. They are the criterion. They are the deciding point. The prophets of God are the guides that shine the way. Sometimes, this is not only in our tradition or in Islam, I'm not saying in the school of Ahlul Bayt, but you can go about in Christianity and Judaism as well. I mentioned briefly the story of Exodus, and I mentioned that Moses was not allowed to enter paradise. Or not paradise rather, but Jerusalem, which was supposed to be the city of paradise. Why? Because in the Bible they say he killed an innocent Egyptian, therefore God prevented him from entering paradise. The the Israelites who had created a golden calf as their God were allowed to enter paradise, but the prophet of God was not allowed to enter the Holy Land. Doesn't make any sense. In the same way, in the Muslim Ummah, the prophet of God is not allowed to appoint his successor, but the Khalifa of the Muslim world are allowed to appoint every Tom, Dick, and Harry who comes their way. Why? Why? Because I mentioned this story with Sheikh Azhar Nasser, and he laughingly said, and he laughingly said, whenever you want to blame anybody, blame a prophet of God and it's fine. And they say that at Saqifa they had a debate. Quraysh versus Ansar, Muhajirin versus Ansar. Muhajirin said, we want to appoint our own Khalifa. Ansar said, we will not accept. If you appoint your Khalifa, it has to be Ali. Because they knew that if the Quraysh had gotten power after the Prophet, the Ansar would have been left to the street corners. They knew that. So they say Ali. They say no, because the true two ni'mah cannot be contained in the same household. The Khilafah and the Nabuwah, no. Is there Quranic proof for that? No. But they said it. They did say it. The truth is that they wanted to usurp the power for themselves. But as soon as the first Khalifa leaves, he appoints his successor. The Prophet does not appoint a successor according to our brethren, but the first Khalifa can appoint his own successor. Does that make sense? The Prophet does not appoint a leader, but the first Khalifa does. And when asked about by the second Khalifa about the Khilafah or the selection of the first, they say it was a fulta, it was a mistake. It was a grave error. Why? Why? Why is it that there are so many divisions and fighting amongst the Muslim world? Because they did not remember the rightful Khalifa. If they had stuck with Imam Ali from day one, none of these divisions would have happened. Unfortunately, when I'm talking about the Muslim world, but in the Shia world, we have divisions as well. We say, I am from this country, therefore I am better. I am from that country, I am this, that. I am this, fulan, fulan, fulan. And we have, what is this? When Imam Ali had wanted to unite the whole Muslim community, and I was talking with the brother, in our tradition, we have Imam Ali was writing his own tafsir. But in order to preserve the unity of the Muslim world, he hid it from the world. After the Prophet, Imam Ali was writing his own commentary to the Quran. As a passing note, one of my professors, my thesis advisor at Harvard Seminary, which is now Hartford International University for Religion and Peace, Dr. Saifuddin Kara, who is a Turkish Shia PhD student who studied in England and did his PhD, he wrote a book in search of Imam Ali's codex. And I mentioned to the brother, the view in academia is that the Quran was not compiled during the time of the Prophet, it was compiled afterwards. We believe another way that it was compiled during the time of the Prophet. So he says, if Imam Ali wrote his own Quran or tafsir or whatever have you, where is it? Because Ali is forever with Haq Salah Muhammad. Ali is that guiding light that once you have Ali, you don't need anybody else. Once you have Ali, you don't need anybody else. But there's a caveat to that. And the famous modern day Shia Mujtahid, Arif, Buzurg, Insan Kamil, Ayatollah Marhum, Sheikh Hassan Zadeh Amani from the Islamic Republic of Iran. He just died a few years ago. In one of his lectures, the lecture is available online. He mentions this tradition that says of the Imams are saying this, يعني نحن حجة الله عليكم. We, the Imams, are the proof of God on you, on all of humanity, وجدتنا فاطمة حجة الله علينا. And our grandmother Fatima Zahra is the proof of Allah on us. Remember when we talk about the marriage of Ali to Fatima, fine, truth is with Ali and Ali is with the truth. Allah turned truth whichever way Ali goes. Yes, that's true. But remember in the nikah of Fatima to Zahra to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali is not the mizan, Fatima is the mizan, and Ali is being weighted on the mizan of the faith and character and the zat of Fatima to Zahra. Which brings me to another point. When we're comparing religions, they say, even in previous versions of Christianity, when the idea of Trinity was debated, there was an idea of God the Mother. Meaning Bibi Maryam, because she gave birth, to, according to Christianity, to the Son of God, she has a place in this divinity. That got replaced with the idea of God the Father. And the story of Maryam is mentioned the way I meant the parable that I mentioned in the previous discussion, in just a few minutes ago. Fine, you can say that there are patriarchal religions and all of the Abrahamic religions are extremely patriarchal, and that's what they do to the idea of the womanhood. But you go in religions that were not patriarchal. Buddhism is not a patriarchal religion. Women become nuns and priests and everything. Find one example of a female Dalai Lama, for example. You find none. Find one example of a female shrine in the Buddhist or Hindu religions. You find none. At least as I know. And I'm making a broad generalization, but as far as I've studied Tibetan Buddhism, at least, none. In Shiism, how many did we have? We had the shrine of Bibi Khadija. We had Al-Baqi, which is the resting place according to most of our traditions of Fatima al-Zahra. We have Sayyida Zainab Salamullah alayha in Damashq. We have Sayyida Ruqayya in Damashq. And we have Sayyida Fatima al-Ma'asuma in Qom. This is the mizan. This is the character of a religion that puts Ali at the helm of their ship, that it gives women their rightful dues, that it gives women position in society, that it gives the rightful position to every member in society. One of the traditions, I don't remember which imam it was, a Sahaba, a companion came to the imam, and he said, I believe this was with Imam Ali as well, and this goes back to the idea of Haq ma Ali wa Ali ma al-Haq, that they came and asked, Ya Ali, or Imam, what is better, Generosity or adalah. And the Imam says adalah, the companion asks why. He says generosity takes something out of its place and puts it in a higher place. Haq or adalah takes the true thing and puts it in the position that it deserves to be in. Ali deserves to be put in the position of the helm of our ship. And I'm not just saying this as a matter of doctrine. We can debate with our brothers in Islam about this. Fine. But where is Ali in my life? Where is Ali in my life? And for the sisters, where's Fatima Zahra in my life? Where is Imam al-Hasanain in my life? Where is Sayyida Zainab, Bibi Ruqayya, Bibi Layla in my life? Bibi Ruqayya, Bibi Rabah, Bibi Fadla, where are they in my life? It's very unfortunate that we talk about these holy individuals and we praise them, but we don't take the principles that they set forth and we put it into modern day action in every aspect of our being. I'll give you my example. I have to be fair. Before I was baligh, I was not necessarily the most best practicing Muslim. To be honest, and I'm being completely frank. But I would partake in the aza of Imam Hussein. And my mother is a zakira, my sisters are zakiras as well. So I had this idea that I want to recite Majlis of Imam Hussein. So by the grace of God, I started reciting Majlis before I was baligh. So one time, and I'll be honest with you, I prayed sometimes, more often not. I, of course, fasted in the month of Ramadan, but religion was not necessarily in my front view mirror. It was in the backside. I remember, and my birthday is 22nd Safar, so it was the Arba'een before I became baligh, and the Khatib who came to Imam al-Khoi Islamic Center, very powerful lecture, people there are brothers who are not from the Indo-Pak subcontinent here, but if you attend an Indo-Pak majlis, people are getting up, yelling, screaming, very active. And the musibah comes. And he says, Lady Zainab, salamullah alayha, she was tortured to an extent that we cannot believe. Yet Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam says about his auntie Zainab, my aunt Zainab, Salatul Layl never became qada. And that shook me to the core. The Maulana, the Khatib, went to the extent that he said that she had become so weak after the suffering. I'm not reciting musibah, this is a lesson, this is fadail of Ahlul Bayt. Indeed, the famous mujtahid of the Indo-Pak subcontinent, Sayyid Aqil al-Qarawi, says with every musibah there are millions of fadail you can derive of Ahlul Bayt. So he says they gave her such little water and food, she would distribute it amongst the children, and she would not have enough for herself. She became so weak that she had to sit down and pray. The first time Imam Sajjad saw his auntie Zainab sitting down and praying, he says, Auntie Zainab, why are you sitting down and praying? She says, they give such little food, I distribute it to the women and children, I don't have enough for myself, but I don't want to miss my prayer. What does that mean? That means in the prison of Sham, Bibi Zainab always prayed namaz al-shab, Salatul Layl. What does that mean? From Karbala to Kufa, Kufa to Sham, always never forgetting at Ainul Waqt. Never forgetting does not mean before or after. At the waqt of Fadila, she never forgot it. What does that mean? On Sham-e Ghariba, after all her brothers and nephews and her children had been slaughtered, all the companions. On Sham Ghariba, tents have been burned. She never forgets Namaz al-Shab. Veils have been stolen. She doesn't forget Namaz al-Shab. Sakina's earrings have been snatched, or Ruqayya's earrings have been snatched off her head. Never forget Namaz al-Shab. That left me shaking. I could not, after those lectures, put myself on the side of Bibi Zainab. And I remember, because I would memorize the musibah. When the Maulana was mentioning, it was so powerful that I would go home. My mother was not at those majalis. I would memorize the musibah and tell my mother the whole thing after I got home. And I would cry. I couldn't go to sleep. In my state, I was thinking, could I actively call myself a follower of Bibi Zainab? And unfortunately for me, the answer was no. That was a heartfelt analysis of myself, and I couldn't say it. I couldn't think it. So therefore, when I became 15 and 2 days later, I made the intention of taqleed and I started on the path of religion. But the reason why I'm mentioning all of these stories is that it's not enough for us to say we are the followers of Ahlul Bayt. We have to, as they say, put our money where our mouth is. Salawat ala Muhammad. A second time for the love of Fatima to Zahra. Please let me know when my time's up, inshallah. We have to put our money where our mouth is. If I'm saying I'm a Shia of Ali, and I say that Ali wants unity in the Muslim community, I have to be the source of unity. And I'm saying this quite openly. It's very easy to be our brethren who say nothing happened after the Prophet left this world. He was buried by Ali, yes, but nothing happened. And Ali and the Sahaba lived peacefully. It's very easy. The harder point is to say, yes, something did happen. Fatima Zahra was murdered by the tyrannical, oppressive government of that time, and Imam Ali still chose to preserve the Muslim Ummah. Imam Ali chose to preserve the Muslim Ummah. The Prophet told Imam Ali what was going to happen after him, and he said, Ali, I do not want you to pick up your sword. And when those events happened, Imam Ali said, I had promised the Prophet I would not pick up my sword. I go for unity. If I say, as the narration goes, when Imam Ali was Khalifa, he was fighting a battle. He had somebody stuck an arrow on his foot. The doctors could not remove that arrow. They had no anesthesia. It would be too painful. So they went to Imam Hassan. They say, Ya Hassan, we want to remove the arrow. How can we do it? It's going to be too painful for your father. He might not last. He says, fine. Wait till he's in prayer. And then take it out. They take it out in prayer. Imam Ali does not feel a thing. They say, how is that possible? Imam Ali was so engrossed in his prayer that he did not even notice the arrow being taken out. That's the way we should be. That's the way we should be. Bibi Zainab never forgot her prayer. Imam Ali, and I'm mentioning parables here. I'm going to mention one more with a lot of salawat first before. Another famous Pakistani alim, Maulana Kalb Sadiq, he recited this as a part of Musibah, but it can be recited outside of Musibah as well. They say there was a big difference between the companions of the prophets and Imam Ali and the companions of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. In the Bible, when the whole idea or the story of the crucifixion is about to start, Jesus says to his companions, "You are going to betray me twice." And they do that. In Karbala, none of the companions betray Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. In our Prophet's lifetime, in the Battle of Uhud, what happens? The Prophet gets injured. A man who looks like the Prophet gets killed, and then the cry is raised that Muhammad has been killed, and the Sahaba run away from the battlefield. They run away from the battlefield. Only when Prophet Muhammad calls on them, none of them reply. Almost all of them leave, except for a handful, including Imam Ali. Only a handful stay. The Sahaba are running from the battlefield. Imam al-Hussein on the night of Ashura, he turns off the lights, says, "You can leave with my family member." He turns it back on. They say, "If they cut our jugular vein 1,000 times and they give us a life 1,000 times, we will give our life for you 1,000 times." Companions of Imam Ali, not companions, family member, Ibn al-Abbas. Abbas is the uncle of Prophet Muhammad, the younger uncle of Prophet Muhammad. Ibn al-Abbas is therefore cousin to the Prophet and Imam Ali. Imam Ali is Khalifa. What happens? I believe this is the Battle of Siffin. Imam Ali is fighting, heads are flying, and everything is going Imam Ali's way. Comes time for prayer. Ibn Abbas is next to him. He says, "Ibn Abbas, set up my musalla, I want to pray." He says, "Ya Ali, it's a battlefield, heads are flying, there's blood everywhere, it's gory. You want to pray here? This isn't the time for prayer." Imam Ali says, "Ibn Abbas, I did not expect this from you." And then the companions of Imam al-Hussein, comes time for Dhuhr prayers. The companion says to Imam al-Hussein, "If this is our last prayer, we want to pray behind you." Imam al-Hussein says, "You remind us of the prayer, جَعَلَكَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. May Allah make you from amongst those who are the prayerful in the afterlife." If I say I am follower of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, prayer comes first. If I am saying I am follower of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, unity comes first. If I'm saying I am follower of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, love and implementation of the principles that Ahlul Bayt set forth comes first. If I am saying that I am follower of Ali ibn Abi Talib, I have to look myself in the eye, look myself in the mirror, stare at myself, and say, my Imam, he knew what was going to happen to him on the 19th, and this is going to be tomorrow lecture, 19th of Ramadan. He knew what was going to happen to him, yet he still went to the masjid and he prayed. If I am a follower of Amir al-Mu'mineen, if I say Ali is my first Imam, I cannot be a source of fighting and division in the community. I have to be that individual with that charismatic nature that brings everybody together. If I want to be a follower of Amir al-Mu'mineen, I can never forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can never forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say there's a hadith that says when you want Allah to speak to you, you read the Quran. When you want to speak to Allah, you pray. This muraqabah they talk about in irfan and tasawwuf, this closeness to God, is so important to Ali and the Imams. One of the Imams say that if everything of creation was completely destroyed and there was only me, I would not feel myself lonely as long as I had a Quran in front of me. Where's my relationship with this Quran? Or have I reserved this for wedding ceremonies and when somebody dies, I just open the Quran and I read it? Have I read the tafsir of the Quran? Have I applied the principles of the Quran in my life? That's where it all starts. And indeed, believe I have 10 more minutes, inshallah. So let us talk about the statement of Imam Ali that I mentioned in Dua Kumail. The last verses of Dua Kumail. يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره الشفاء. I should have this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that His names are shifa for my body. Why is it that I read Quran? I'm talking not about you, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking in the first person. I read Quran, I pray my prayers, and there is no connection between me and God. Where is my prayer if I cannot connect all my cords with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Where is this connection? Allah's name is Shifa. The reason why we don't feel some of these du'as coming into effect is because the mental and the spiritual connection is not there. Whereby I might be reciting Dua Joshan Kabir every night and I don't feel it. I don't feel it. Why? Because there's no connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, you know, the one tradition from Imam Ali, I believe it was, different companions would come to him in the time of Khilafah. And they say one time Abdullah ibn Abbas was there as well. Multiple problems came up to him. Famine came, drought came, people said we don't have children, and all of that. Imam Ali gave one solution to all of those problems. He says, do salat, do istighfar with kasrat. Do istighfar. And Ibn al-Abbas, who is Hafid of Quran, who is the highest ranking Mufassir amongst all traditions, or Muhaddith rather, from amongst all traditions, he is known as Hibr al-Ummah in our Sunni brothers. He goes to Ali, so many problems came. You said do istighfar for all of them. How? And he says, have you not read the verses of the Quran? And he quotes the verses of the Quran. And he says, Ya Ali, it's as if I am reading these verses for the first time. It's as if I'm reading these verses for the first time. I never thought that the istighfar could be the solution to all of these maladies. So, dear brothers and sisters, let us draw a connection in this holy month with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to focus specifically on one aspect, one type of supplication that we have in our tradition, the Shia tradition, that we can honestly say nobody else has. They have dua, they have salawat. Our brethren of Ahl Sunnah have multiple types of salawat. You study Ahl Tasawwuf, they have their own wird and durood and different types of salawat. We have munajat, which is very important. But we have something that nobody else has. That is ziyarah. Ziyarah is something that we have. You can go across all traditions. I guarantee you nobody else has it. This ziyarah, as the brother was mentioning, ziyarah Ashura, is so powerful. They say if you recite this ziyarah for 40 consecutive days, you will have a meeting with Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Either before the 40th has completed or right after the 40th day, you will have a meeting with Sahib al-Zaman. This ziyarah, we usually recite it on the day of Ashura, and we leaf through it as if it's something very vague, not to be implemented. Just read through it. But put yourself on the mizan of the ziyarah, on the scale of the ziyarah. On the one hand, we're saying, Allahumma la'an awwala zalimin dhalama haqqa Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa akhira tabi'an lahu ala dhalik. Allahumma la'an ila sabat allati jahadat al-Husayn wa shaya'at wa bay'at wa dhabat al-qatl. Allahumma la'anhum jami'a. On the one side, we are saying we disassociate from all the killers of Imam Hussein. On the other side, we are saying, Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala sahab al-Husayn. Put these two on the extremes ends of your scale and ask yourself the question, where am I? I'm not saying this is common tafsir of Ziyarah Ashura. No, this is my view. If I am reading the ziyarah, where am I? How can I say Allahumma la'an to them and as-salam to them when I'm not on their side, but I'm on their side? How can I say that? Or even if I'm somewhere in the middle. So let us make our tradition, our niyyah today. It's a very simple niyyah. It's a very simple statement. Today, right now, 2023. I feel like I'm very old right now. I'd say that's 2023. The first time I mentioned this idea of this mizan of Zat Ashura was maybe 10, 15 years ago. I'm dating myself, quite literally. So that is very important. As I've said previously as well, I could recite all the ziyarah. Is my time up? Okay. I could recite all the ziyarah, all the du'as. But if I don't know the meaning, what's the worth of it? Fine, I get hasanat. But in words, I believe this is Ayat al-Bahjat or Sheikh Hassan Zadeh marhum. They say the purpose of ibadat is not hasanat. It's muraqabah, it's connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is this connecting all your daily chords with the Supreme Creator? If I do not connect myself with Allah in one prayer, let alone 5 or all the nawafil or namaz al-shab, what's the point of the prayer? So let us make this tradition today in this month that after every prayer, I will take the risala of my marja'at taqleed, or take a book with the translation of the prayer, and I will read the translation. So I know when I'm saying the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, I know what that means. When I say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I know what that means. When I go to ruku and I say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim wa bihamdih, all glory be to my great sustainer and praise be to him, I know what that means. When I go to sajda, I know what that means. And let's not just take that as the ending point. Because the Prophet didn't say that I was sent to you to complete your prayer or your siyam or your zakat or your khums. No. He says he was sent to us so that he could perfect the nobility of our character. Therefore, I see a lot of youth today, alhamdulillah. My relationship with my parents, if I am a follower of Amir al-Mu'mineen, should be the best. If I'm a student, I'm giving you the advice that Ayatollah Haq Fayaz gave me and the group of Zawad that were with him at the time. He says, listen, you can make up for missed prayers. There's a certain time frame for prayer. Awwal waqt, fine, that's great. You can pray in that time. But within that time period, you have time to pray. And even if you miss that time period, you can pray qada. But the hour that you lose of studying, you never get that back. So if I'm a student, I should be the best student. If I am a parent, I should be the best parent. If I'm a mother, the best mother. And before the parents start complaining, saying, Maulana, you said to be the best parent, and now my kids are coming up to me saying, Maulana said, be the best parent, be the best parent. There is a lesson of humility and servitude. There's a lesson that says, and the greatest urafa have had this idea of intense humility. Sayyid Ali Qadi Tabatabai is an example. Never narrating openly what karamat he was capable of. Why? In Irfan, and I conclude, inshallah, with this point, they say that, and this is a whole 10 majalis point itself, they say that if you want to compare Sharia, Tariqa, Haqiqa, or Irfan with fiqh, they say all of ilm al-Irfan is you perform your wajibat on time with proper intention, with proper attention, and you avoid all the muharramat. Meaning for us, and I conclude with this point, and this is, like I said, another major point of discussion, you follow all the rules of fiqh at its proper time, and then from the rules of fiqh, you implement the rules of akhlaq while you are following all the rules of fiqh. And then to get to the stage of irfan, you implement all the rules of fiqh and akhlaq, and then you enter the world of irfan. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Conclusion point, again, another reference, Marhum Sheikh Fadil al-Karani says, all irfan means is to be the best possible human being. So let us be the best possible human being. Before I forget, let us also recite again Dua Sihat for all of our marhumin who might be ill, for all those who need it, especially Brother Ayman Al-Rahma. Ayman Al-Rahma's children, they've asked for a specific dua for them. And let us also, after that, pray for the marhumin of the people who sponsor today's fast. So let's all recite Dua Sihat. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Let us all recite Surah Al-Fatiha for the marhumin of the sponsors of tonight's iftar, the families of Brother Ali Akil Champani, Brother Hussam Murtada, Brother Zafar Shams and their families, and all of your marhumin, all of those who were attached to this center or who had some say in this center who are no longer with us, and my marhumin and all of the marhumin who have left this world. Fatiha. Yeah.